I'm Evan Knappen,
And I'm Teddy Knappen.
and welcome to Gun Lawyer. We have a very important show for you. This is a critical issue that you probably have never heard about before or even considered as an issue. And yet, in this modern age of AI, it has emerged as a threat to gun owners and our Second Amendment rights. And today we have an actual victim of AI and gun rights. And I want this show to be a warning to every gun owner to beware that when you talk to AI, you're basically talking to the government. You are talking publicly, and it is a thing that is monitored, that is admitted to be monitored. Okay. And this is something that can cause immense problems for any gun owner. Today we have on the show Mike, and Mike is an actual victim of AI. Welcome to the show, Michael.
Hey, Mike.
Hi there.
Hi. It's glad to be here. Thank you.
So, Mike, tell me and tell our listeners what occurred when you were using an AI program, right? What program were you using?
Yeah, I was using ChatGPT.
And what were you doing at the time speaking with ChatGPT?
Well, it's a pretty long story, but to summarize it, my wife and I were having marital issues. So she left. She said, I'm leaving. So she left the house. So I decided I would just vent because I was very upset. So I got on ChatGPT and I started talking to ChatGPT.
And ChatGPT is easy to talk to. It's like a person, and
Right.
You're essentially venting like you would to a friend, right?
That's correct. And so I was assuming it was private, right? I don't think anybody was listening. And so I was telling ChatGPT some very private things like, I don't have a plan for suicide, but I am very distressed and I don't want to get to the point where I'm thinking about suicide and making a plan for suicide. And so I assumed that, that was private, but within 15 minutes, 20 minutes or so, there was a severe pounding at the door. And I went over to the door. I opened the door. It was the Lakewood Police. This is Ocean County, New Jersey. And they started asking me questions. They did not have a counselor with them, which they normally would bring to a situation like this. But there was no mediator. It was just police. Basically, they walked in. At the time, I was in the middle of taking my normal medication. I distribute my medication across different vials so that I know I'm on track, either taking too much or not taking enough. But the police decided to grab the vial away from me. They sort of took the vial away from me. They started to count the medication. And I said, yeah.
And this is prescription medication for you, right?
That's correct. I said, you just can't count that vial. I distribute the medication across multiple vials. You'll have to go back to the safe and get the other medication. They never bothered to do that.
Did they tell you why they were at your door?
They never did. They never told me. I asked them why they were here, and they said that somebody called 911. And I said, well, I never called 911.
Do you know any living person that called 911?
No, nobody called. Nobody called. I was the only one who knew what was going on.
Because you were in your home and it was just you there talking to ChatGPT, right?
That's it. Bottom line. So they were very aggressive. They miscounted the pills. When I went to the hospital, they took me to Kimball Medical Center in Lakewood, New Jersey. And there were about 5 people, 6 people standing around me, including police and nurses. And they said, "You have to pee in this cup." And I said, "I can't pee with a bunch of people watching me." So they said, "Well, we'll have to
Stage
sedate
fright.
you. Yeah,
Yes.
we'll have to sedate you, and then we'll have to do a straight cath." So the sedation didn't work. They did a straight cath with an untrained nurse. I was screaming my head off, and it caused me to bleed for like 2, 3 hours. I had to keep changing the paper pants that they did. It was a horrible experience. It was really terrible. And they basically just watched me for 3 or 4 hours. Of course, the urine test and the blood work was all negative. Everything came back
Hmm.
negative for overdose and use of illegal drugs, use of sleeping pills, whatever. I mean, everything was negative. The only thing that was positive was my normal medication, and it was at normal levels. Right? So then they decided to commit me involuntarily, which I questioned. I talked to the psychiatrist. I said, "Why are you committing me involuntarily?" "Well, it's just because of some of the things that you said." And I said, "Well, what did I say?" And he said, "Well, I don't exactly know, but it was reported that you said that you were going to commit suicide." And so I said, "No." I said, "I was talking to ChatGPT and I was
Man.
venting,
Wow.
but they committed me involuntarily anyway." So I went to the behavioral health hospital, and they weren't treating me for anything. They were just letting me float around with everyone else. And there were a lot of people in there that needed a lot of help, serious psychiatric help. And I felt bad for these people. And there was one woman who was crawling on the floor saying, "I'm not a child molester," just screaming it out. And there was another guy who was in there for just attempting to kill his brother. And so I was in with a bunch of people that I didn't belong there. I finally met up with a district manager there who figured that out because she saw me writing letters to the management. I took some pieces of paper that I found and I started handwriting letters saying, "You're not treating me. You have to define what my treatment plan is and what the goals of the treatment plan are. Otherwise, you need to release me, right, by law." Well, that got their attention because I took the time to handwrite 2 letters to that effect. I sent it to the management and to the legal team. So within a day, I was told I was going to be released. Right. So the whole thing was a big charade. In the meantime, this police officer goes before a judge and gets a terpo, and he puts
And
on
a
the terpo.
TERPO is a temporary extreme risk protection order.
Correct.
And in getting that, they serve this on you when? When will you serve the TERPO? When you got home
Before
in the
I left,
hospital?
yeah, before I left the behavioral health hospital, and I said, "Did you guys check the blood work and the urine analysis?" And they never did. So bottom line is that they put down on the Terpo that I overdosed on prescription pain medicine and I was abusing my pain medicine because they miscounted the medicine when they came into my house.
And that was absolutely not true.
Absolutely not true. Completely false. And then I asked, so when we got to the FARPO, I defended myself.
Okay, so the FERPO is the final extreme risk protection order, and there's a hearing that's held where the judge
Yep,
has to decide whether the TERPO, which is issued ex parte, where you never had any say, the cops just made whatever statements they made, the judge
yep,
issues this with no due process for you, okay,
nothing.
and you're served with it, your guns get taken, and then you finally get your day in court where you're going to be able to explain yourself, and you go there without an attorney, and you have this hearing. What happens at this hearing
Okay,
on
well,
whether or not to issue this FERPO?
yeah, so the hearing was on April 8th, 2026 in the Superior Court of Ocean County, New Jersey. And so the prosecutor put the police officer on the stand, asked him a bunch of questions. Did you do a background check on Mr. Recchia? Did you find anything negative? Blah, blah, blah. And his answer was no to everything. Right? So then I had a chance to cross examine him, and I said, at the time that you went before the judge to get the Terpo, did you understand at that time, and did you present to the judge that the blood work and the urine analysis all came back negative for overdose and normal use of my prescription medicine? And he said, no, I did not do that. And I did not present it. And then I said, can you name a specific person at the behavioral health hospital or the regular hospital that had made a diagnosis of suicide on my part? And he said, no, I can't name anybody. So in other words, I said everything that you wrote on the Terpo justification for the Terpo was kind of like hearsay, basically. And he said, yeah, I guess so. Like, it's unbelievable. I couldn't believe it. Like, I don't have any legal experience. I'm an
Mhm.
engineer, and I do the best I can based on the facts, right? And here I am doing a cross examination of this guy, and you could see that they never did their homework.
I'm more shocked the guy just answered blatantly that he would just say, "Yeah, I guess so." It makes sense.
Yeah, it was like I was in another world.
So you were cross-examining the officer at the hearing, and you questioned him. And what did you think about his answers?
I could tell he didn't do his homework because the first question was related to the really important stuff, right? Which is, did this guy actually try to commit suicide? So you look at the urine results and you look at the blood work, and they were all negative. The urine test was negative for any illegal drug, negative for sleeping pills. The only thing it was positive for was the medicine that I normally take, and it was at normal levels. And then he couldn't name anybody that had diagnosed me as being suicidal. And so basically everything that he presented to the judge was amounted to hearsay pretty much. And
And
so
the
you could tell
judge,
when I was,
yeah,
yeah,
no, I was going to
no,
say,
you
and the
could tell
judge
by when I,
ultimately dismissed it. Right after the hearing, he dismissed the Terpo and did not grant the FERPO.
right, the judge dismissed the FERPO. And actually she wrote in the finding that the defendant does not show any productivity or proclivity to suicidal tendencies, and is therefore there's nothing to prevent him from owning firearms. In so many words, I'm paraphrasing, but that's what she said. And then she also said verbally that I could go and retrieve my because the FERPA was denied. Mr. Recchia, you can go and retrieve your firearms from the Lakewood police.
Wow.
Okay.
And so I filled out the application that they make you fill out. Little did I know it was landing in the lap of this detective that works for the assistant prosecutor. And I had to provide all kinds of information, including the Terpo, the FERPO. I wrote a lab analysis that I included. I included my white paper, which has the timeline of events. And they just sat on it. It was around, I don't know, April 10th that I submitted all that, and they just been sitting on it ever since.
So even though the FERPO has been dismissed, you still have not gotten your guns back, and that's what
Have not.
we're going to be helping you to get your guns back, even with no FERPO, with a finding of no issue regarding being a threat to yourself or a threat to others, and everything you went through, the stress of the entire situation, the medical procedure, which was extremely painful,
Horrendous.
no less
Horrendous.
and then having to be put through this system where there was nothing, and it all was triggered because of you speaking with ChatGPT, right?
Correct. Exactly. Exactly.
And
This is outrageous.
it's outrageous.
Out
It's
of curiosity,
unbelievable.
Yeah, wait.
Yeah.
I
Go
was.
ahead, Mike. No, I want to
Oh,
hear.
sorry, Mike. I'll leave him.
It's just unbelievable. You're sitting there in your office, your home office, and you're talking to an AI, and then there's police pounding on the door, walking into your house, grabbing your medication, sending you to the hospital. Then you're in extreme pain because somebody's putting a straight catheter through your penis. You're bleeding for 3 or 4 hours. You call for a urologist. Nobody shows up for 6 hours. I mean, and then they had me talk to the psychiatrist, and that was like out of the Wizard of Oz. They bring a TV monitor over, and they have me talk to this psychiatrist over this TV monitor. It was so bizarre. And he's just sitting there with his hand in his head in his chin, like some arrogant fool determining my future. And
You
then he
know,
throws me in this place where I didn't belong. I mean, that's why I
Yeah,
have
right.
PTSD.
This is what
yeah.
New Jersey. This is what you're subject to. Gun owners, take notice how this got triggered and what Mike went through and is still going through, and still hasn't gotten his guns returned yet.
Yep.
Yeah, this is what happens when you live in the DPRNJ. Take note.
Mike, I'm
Yep.
actually kind of curious. What is your just prior to the incident? Have you used any other AIs or any like what did you use it prior? Just to the relationship with you and the AI and like what you were using it prior for.
Well, I'm an engineer. Uh, I've worked for many years for Bell Labs and then MITRE and other companies, and so I write papers. Like I'm giving a presentation in July on 6G. And so I use AIs to help me write papers and do other things that are technical in nature, right? And I'm trying to build a business. I actually have written, me and a few people that I've worked with over the years, we've developed our own AI system. It's based on a human learning model. And we have a beta version of it. It basically learns like a human being learns. And it can learn any technical specialty and become an expert, a super intellect in that specialty. And so that's what I've been using it for. But that day was a pretty bad day because we've been married for 44 years, and my wife said, "I'm leaving you," because we got into an argument over um, our grandchildren, right? Without going into the details, that was basically the bottom line. And she decided, "I've had enough. I'm leaving." That's when I started to vent to Chat GPT because he was kind of my friend.
And you know that it was not your wife who called, right?
No, my wife did not call.
Right. And that was it. And so it's you talking, and here you are even working in the area of AI,
Yep.
and
Yep.
you didn't realize that it's a conduit out when you speak. And just so you know,
No.
I've checked. I just Googled about Chat GBT. Do they report? Do they contact police? And they admit, right? They say yes, they do. If someone's talking about, they claim harming others, which of course you never talked in any way about that. And then it says with suicide, they claim, and this is just what comes up when you just search it on a Google search. They claim, oh no, we recommend counseling. We don't contact. Yeah, right. Well, apparently
Full of
that's not the case.
That's not the case.
Mhm.
And listen,
Yeah.
being in this business, you can write a back end to any system, right? So if they wanted to put a back end to the police,
Yeah. Well, they admit they do for this these issues. I mean, I'm just reading what I see on Google when I
Out
just
of
run
uh,
this Chat GBT. You know,
yeah,
do this,
Mike,
and
I
they
actually
talk
have
about their so-called policies right on there. So people need to be aware of it. And Mike, that's why isn't that why you wanted to go public with this? You
I
really
do.
wanted to tell people so they would be aware of it, right?
Yeah, and again, I'm not ashamed of going public. Whenever it's appropriate, people can find out all about me, my last name or whatever, because this is just outrageous. I don't want anyone else to go through this.
Mike, I'm
It was
actually
really,
curious about regarding your just for your understanding of with seems like you have a decent amount of knowledge on AI. I know
yeah,
I mine is very limited, but I understand that there's like closed AI. Like I know like for instance, just to give an example, Westlaw is now adding like AI to help people like do legal research, or even
Yeah.
like other forms of platforms, or like even Adobe now has
Well,
AI
don't
to
they
help
say
you.
like with Claude, like it's supposed to be contained or can be? I don't know.
Any system can have a back end, right?
Right.
It's not a difficult thing to do. You just get, even a junior programmer to provide the back end capability. So you can call it closed, open, whatever, you can call it anything you want. If somebody wants to put in a back end to
Mm,
a system, it's not hard to do. It's relatively simple to do. And most of it's done through what's called an application program interface, or an API. You might have heard that term before. So ChatGPT obviously has API calls to certain platforms that the police have access to. And so that's the only thing that could have happened. That has to be the case.
right. It's really something, and it's really great that you wanted to share this and let folks know because it is something we're just not aware of. And with AI being this whole new kind of age we're entering into, its impact to rights is, well, you're a shining example of what we have to worry about. And it goes further too, because now there's great concern about AI, for example, being able to access the illegal gun registry of the billion records that ATF has warehoused, where they claimed, oh, well, it's something with AI that now takes on an even greater dimension for AI use on registration record, essentially being able to create a dossier of every person and their purchases. And then that can combine with individuals who may be talking and then knowing what gun. And I mean, it's just the ramifications just go on and on and on, from the global picture right down to someone like yourself, an individual who unsuspectingly is speaking with
Well,
Now,
AI.
yeah.
the thing that I want to make sure people are aware of is that you may think you're alone in your freedom. You may think you have freedom of thought, but in actual reality, when you get online, there's no such thing. And that's why I wrote that white paper that I attached and I sent to you guys. It's
Yeah,
called Freedom of Thought. And I've since contacted somebody that I know at the NRA, and they're interested in publishing it. And so I
right.
have to clean it up a little bit, but I really believe in this. I really believe that there's things beyond the guns. The Second Amendment, of
Now,
course, is really
Very
important, but
important. It is
there's
now,
beyond.
stuff
just
beyond.
That's a
I
Yeah,
great
will.
point too, because it does go beyond. It affects across the
yeah,
board our rights about privacy, and
exactly.
no, without a doubt. And yeah, it's very
I
significant, and this highlights it.
I will
Yeah,
say, just as your from your experience, just not only just your background and what you've gone through on that, I still see the value in AI as a tool. And it seems like in your field, you still see it as that, as a tool to be used. And yes, there is the
yes.
dangers as clearly seen. Do you still hold that opinion? Do you have any changes from that, or where are you at now?
No, I mean AI is wonderful. I mean, I've been doing AI research for a long time. I mean, people think AI is new. It's not. There's just new manifestations now because the hardware is much faster. So the stuff that we weren't able to run in the past, we can do now because we have a lot more horsepower, and architectures of the chipsets are better. So, and that's going to even get better because we're talking about now hybrid chipsets that are part biology and part silicon. And over time, that's going to, develop further into actual, bio-capable chipsets. And so what I'm trying to do is create a super intelligent version. I call it Adapt One. It's based on a human learning model, and this thing will learn in any field. You put it in that environment. Let's say you put it in a law office. You give it a video camera, or a microphone, text input, whatever. It's going to learn whatever is it gets discussed in that office, and eventually over time and if it has access to electronic media like books and so on, like case law, it'll learn all that. So it'll become an expert and become a legal expert, right? Just like I'm trying to use it initially as an expert in the networking arena because I'm a 6G wireless person using AI. And so what I'm trying to do is use Adapt One in a networking environment where you distribute the Adapt Ones. They learn about what's going on in their particular segments of the network, and then they discover each other, and then they exchange information and learn from each other. So we're talking about going forward as AI evolves. You're talking about super intelligent entities that will achieve superior intellect to human beings. So I'm very gung ho with AI.
Yeah,
Very gung
and one thing I do find valuable, and people should remember this of when looking at AI, is I see it as valuable to make a lot of the institutions, the ones that have been, you see it, the political bias and have been corrupted, like education system, the what's going on with media when it comes to like Hollywood, and they're all terrified of AI. Those have been the propagandist arms for the longest time, and I see AI making them irrelevant to, and just your program, could you, for someone who wanted to homeschool, have an AI trained up to be a teacher in the house to help you
Yes,
educate your, that's what
yes,
I'm looking at, because I do not want to send my child to a propaganda public school that be trained up to be a radical
yeah,
communist.
Yeah.
exactly.
Which,
I don't blame you. I mean, so Adapt One will do that, right? So
Very
yeah,
cool.
and I do see the value in a lot of the creativity where I don't know if you caught Spencer Pratt out of L.A. He's running
yes,
for mayor. You see his AI ad where he dressed himself up as Batman and he's fighting
yes,
Karen Bass and they're all throwing tomatoes and they like this whole what is it, this Marie Antoinette level of just like you let them eat cake. It
Right.
was
she is the
so
most
funny.
incompetent person on earth. I cannot believe she's the mayor. Why did the
Oh,
people elect her? She's horrible.
she checked off enough boxes. That's how it always goes.
Oh my
It's
God, she is
Mm.
so incompetent. All those
yeah.
fires, and I guess they've only issued like a handful of permits to rebuild. It's insane what's going on there.
Oh yeah, and
Oh,
it
yeah.
seems like they might even in it's still a toss up and they may vote in the worst, the socialist who working under
I
her
know.
and they're just like, well, we you know what, let's just further the problem. That's it. But
Yeah,
and
it's crazy.
the other thing I remember that just a little bit of the abuse by AI, I always laugh at this one. MSNBC was caught photoshopping Alex Preddy, the guy who was attacking ICE and then was taken down. They
Yeah.
used AI to make him look more handsome.
Oh yeah, I saw
And like
that.
they edited his photo so he would look like a more handsome victim, and it's like, what the heck
uh,
is wrong with you?
Mm.
it's unbelievable. The
It is.
propaganda people want to create.
What's
Yeah.
true?
But there's
It's
too many
true.
suckers that fall for it. That's the problem. I mean, oh yeah, I'm going to vote for Karen Bass. She's wonderful. Or I'm going to vote for Mamdani because he's promising something he can't deliver. Yeah, let
Yeah,
me do that.
no, I love the latest thing they're pushing for, where they're talking about how Mandami solved the budget crisis. Oh, you mean he took out a massive loan from New York because Hochul handed him the money,
Yeah,
like, and
yeah.
it still doesn't solve the budget issue. And also,
No.
he's hiking rates and fees up and down. So don't drive through New York, or you're gonna get a ticket for something.
I
Yeah.
heard he's going to try to rob the pensions or something like that. I mean, this is
Oh yeah, he
insane.
did. They are not for 5 years. They've done a moratorium on the pensions. I
Jesus.
believe that was the number, but I was like, oh, good, that'll work out.
Oh yeah, that's going to be wonderful.
Hey, well, let me mention about our friends at We Shoot because they're running something very interesting. They're having a rescue for pupies. That's right, pupies. You might think that a puppy is similar to a puppy because the way their ad is rolling and the way they are promoting this, they have adopt a gun. So they have a 20% off at We Shoot which is a range in Lakewood where both Teddy and I shoot and get our training, and we love it at We Shoot. This is a real fun thing they're running, Adopt a Gun, and they are the reason is real simple. They have a lot of guns that need to be adopted, and they need rescue, and they have their pupies come in all shapes, all sizes, all calibers. Some are teeny little 22 Chihuahuas with big personality. Some are loyal 9 millimeters, everyday companions ready to protect the home. And each one has its own bark, bite, personality, and purpose. So, adopt a puppy. The rescue shelf at We Shoot is 20% off. Okay. And they don't bark unless they get triggered. They don't shed, other than brass, of course. And they don't chew your furniture, although you can perforate a few things with them. So uh, be responsible. They're looking for responsible, law abiding owners. Check out We Shoot and their Adopted Puppy 20% off program. And don't forget, they have tremendous training, great range facility. They are offering this great sale, and We Shoot's a lot of fun. We love it there. Check out WeShootUSA.com, WeShootUSA.com. And let me also shamelessly plug my book, New Jersey Gun Law, which is the Bible of Jersey gun law. It's over 500 pages, 120 topics, all question and answer to help you guide your way through this matrix of insanity called New Jersey gun law. And now we have a entire new warning. I'm going to have to incorporate this into a book update, I'm sure. And it is this week's GoFu. As you know, every show we have a GoFu, and that's the gun owner F up, where gun owners have made mistakes, errors, problems that end up costing them. Well, as you heard firsthand today, this was a GoFu, and it's something where we're fortunate enough to have the person who experienced it wanting to go public and warn about this GoFu, warn with a warning that really has not been put out before. And that is, when you're talking to AI, you just better believe you're talking to the world. And it is something, particularly in New Jersey, particularly in a state that does not respect our Second Amendment rights and has mechanisms in place to abuse our rights, like the extreme risk protection orders. Then you can see how this all comes together into a perfect storm that Mike already has suffered through and doesn't want to see anybody else suffer.
The other thing I was wondering about, because I know some firms are doing like a closed AI, basically that would I know well, that would take almost like you'd have to have like I guess even like a server where it's complete blank slate, and you
Yep.
give it the law of and just can do research on that. I don't know if that what would that
Because
take for
ethically, lawyers can't use ChatGPT or any OpenAI. It can't even do
Correct.
it because it goes into the public, so you can't do it.
Yeah.
But there's
Well,
been talk of like firms doing that instead, where they have like a closed their own thing.
that's what didn't come across when I said it, but Adapt One, which is based on a human learning model, that will be whatever you want it to be. So if you want it to be an expert in one particular area in sort of a closed information context, you could use it for that. If you want it to be more open, you can use it for that. But basically, you can put it anywhere and it'll learn like a human baby learns, but it'll do it much faster until it gets to the point where it's super intelligent. So if you wanted a
Wow.
tax expert in your office, that would be the way to go, right?
That's
So
really amazing.
I
That's
should have a working product. It's in a beta release now, but I should have a production version of it in about 8 months.
wow. That's cool.
Wow.
That is really good, man.
Yeah, yeah.
We're
Well,
gonna
Mike, thanks again for go in public and let folks know. And this is going to be really important. And I'm sure it's going to catch fire to everyone in our community. It'll, because like I said, this hasn't been revealed before. It hasn't been discussed in this context. I go through every news feed, every pro-gun site and feed. I constantly am reading and reviewing, and nobody has talked about this issue. So
No,
The only
this is
thing,
unique.
yeah,
the only thing that's come up that's even close to it would be the shooter that was like shooting up like the highway. He was using ChatGPT to plan out his attack.
right. The planning,
it.
and the other one is the global, where there's right now there's a bill in Congress. They want to stop over that illegal registry because of fears of AI, particularly. Yeah, Ameline just had an article on that where they talked about that because what it is, they can read even the handwriting on the 4473s that they have. So it's all, and then with AI, it's very easy they could put the dossier together to have the registration, the confiscation schemes, the monitoring, all and on. It's very, very dangerous when you combine
just-
it with the data that they have. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, AI can be very dangerous, right? If you
Yep.
put it in the hands of the wrong people, they'll use it in a very bad way.
Oh,
Well,
without a
my
doubt.
biggest nervousness was the one where all the nuclear reactors they're building to help power it. They're like, "Oh, we're just going to put AI in charge of that." I'm like,
Oh, yeah. Wonderful.
Haven't they watched Terminator? I mean, come on. Oh, too
Yeah.
much.
But listen, I mean, here's the problem. A lot of the AI systems are a lot of software. Okay, it's not just hardware. What that means is that there's no in this world we haven't figured out a way to do error-free software. And I'm an expert on software reliability, and I can just tell you that if you're putting this thing in very high-risk applications like nuclear management of nuclear weapons, you're making a big mistake because at some point there is going to be a severity 1 MR or bug, and it's going to cause a problem. So people are putting too much confidence in AI, and have to realize that a large part of it is software, and software is not bulletproof.
This is Evan Knappen and Teddy Knappen reminding you that gun laws don't protect honest citizens from criminals. They protect criminals from honest citizens.
Gun Lawyer is a Counterthink media production. The music used in this broadcast was managed by Cosmo Music, New York, New York. Reach us by emailing evan@gun.lawyer. The information and opinions in this broadcast do not constitute legal advice. Consult a licensed attorney in your state.